Tonight, National Security Minister claims masked armed men deployed in violent Yawaso by-election never shot anybody.
Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots, which they tell me did not hit anybody. They do not even remember seeing any such person on the ground.
We also hear from Minister of State at the National Security, Brian Champon, who is also admitting that the men his ministry deployed, accused of imposing a state of terror during the by-election, did not succeed in their mission.
I think that they should have completed the mission. They did not. So I can conclude that they were not successful.
Well, Interior and National Security Ministers, they have been testifying in public today before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, with some of their answers raising more questions than answers, in fact. We have details.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And also, it's always brought to you by Bond. Your success, our passion. Also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready, and the nationwide medical health insurance. Now, 6 people we know were severely injured. In fact, 1 was left in critical condition and had to be referred. Now, they all suffered gunshot wounds during the Yawaso West Wagon by-election. Well, today, the National Security Ministry, which deployed the well-armed marksmen accused of visiting the violence, has claimed before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry that those men never shot anybody. In fact, the Sector Minister Kandapa claims the marksmen only fired 6 warning shots.
When the SWAT team later attempted to go closer the house, the inmates started pelting them with stones. And later, they also said they heard gunshots coming from within the compound of the house. Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots, which they tell me did not hit anybody. But obviously, I await the end of the investigations to find out exactly what happened and how many shots they fired and whether it did hit somebody. For now, the commander tells me that the gunshot wound, 1 person was shot or had a gunshot wound. Whether it was a gunshot wound or not, we can only wait for the investigations to find out. They believe that that shot did not come from the warning shots that they gave, but probably the one from within the compound. They do not even remember seeing any such person on the ground, and that the person who was shot came from that compound.
So that is Kandapa, is the National Security Minister there. That is his account. But we know that we have volumes of video capturing what really happened on that day. What we try to do is to get these videos that depict the shooting and to just isolate what the videos tell us, and just to get a sense of how that tallies with what we're hearing from the ministers. Now, I want you to listen to one of those most powerful videos that captures, in essence, what really transpired when the shooting really ensued. Listen.
Charlie, right now they are on the point the gun come here. The man is shot.
Wait.
Boss, wait.
Oh, Charlie, wait.
Wait, I'm on live.
I'm done.
Who's driving the car? They should take him away.
No. Take him to our car.
Oh, they should take him away. He's bleeding out too. He's bleeding out.
I'm dying, man.
Boss.
I'm dying, man.
Okay, so that is this video that, of course, emerged in the wake of the violence that tells us both in audio and in video what really transpired. Remember that Kandapa says today before the commission that there were the individuals who were marked, who were sent there, fired 6 warning shots, and he believes his briefing is giving, nobody was injured. Okay, so based on that video that we've all seen and watched, how many gunshots did we really manage to count just by simply listening to it? Maxwell has been following this quite extensively. He had been there even to trace the aftermath and had seen bullet holes and had counted a lot, and has also listened to this and also done. We deliberately went through that. How many shots did you hear just by listening to that?
Well, just by listening to the audio, we counted 49 gunshots.
Okay,
49 gunshots.
So there were 49 gunshots just by listening.
Just by listening to the
thing.
audio, yeah.
Now, so 49 gunshot. The minister says the individuals who were marked, who were sent there, only fired 6 warning shots.
Exactly.
If you take his word, if you believe him, what it means is that there were at least 43 shots
unaccounted
that
for.
unaccounted for.
Yeah.
That we need to establish where that came from.
Exactly.
43 gunshots just by listening to that audio. If you watch that video, it's online, find it. You see it on my journal as well. Listen to that and watch it as well. You will listen to 49 gunshots. Yeah. Minister says the people they dispatched there, who we know were armed because we saw them armed, only fired 6.
Yeah, and in fact, in the audio, in the latter parts of the audio that we just played, you could hear someone shouting that I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. So this guy was actually shot in the knee, and at that point, he was put in the backend of a pickup. Just when they were about to rush him to the hospital,
and we saw the videos of that.
We saw
when
the
guy was
exactly.
going into the back of the pickup.
Exactly. Just before he was rushed to the hospital, another man was also brought with a bullet, wound. You could see the hole in his biceps. Actually,
there's a bullet hole in his bicep.
There was another man also who was put in the back of the car, in the back of the at the back of the pickup, also injured. So just by that, we counted 3 people who were injured and rushed to the hospital.
Yeah.
The following day, when we visited, the place, we counted about 6 bullet holes.
6 bullet holes.
And this
where were these bullet holes? Where do you find them?
We found one on a Kia Picanto vehicle parked just meters away from the where the NDC supporters were. There was another vehicle.
The number 6 tallies with Kandapa, right?
Exactly.
Tallies with Kandapa. That's the only number we found that tallies with.
Yeah, but we're made to believe that these are warning shots.
And
which
warning
are not supposed
shots
to hit targets.
Okay, yes.
Exactly. The second one we found was actually on a vehicle parked at the mechanic shop. There was a bullet hole in that vehicle as well. There's a brown container just about 50 meters away from the residence where this incident actually happened. We counted 2 bullet holes on that container. There's a tree very close to a shop just directly opposite the residence. We counted some bullet holes on that structure as well.
Okay. The fundamental question, again, if you believe Kandapa's testimony today, and so if he says, most importantly, that the people they send there, the armed men that we saw, they shot warning shots. 6 of them, they did not shoot anybody.
Yes.
It begs the question. The individuals that you saw in the hospital, the videos that we watched, bleeding in the leg, as you've seen, the bullet holes in the bicep, the guy who the MP went to visit and gave 5,000 for his upkeep. Who shot these individuals? Is a question that is begging for some answer tonight.
Exactly.
Who shot these individuals?
And I think one of the commissioners actually raised that question. So he was asking whether the people shot themselves.
Well,
during the hearing today.
So that's a question that you can ask as well. So is the minister telling us that these people shot themselves, or was it a case of friendly fire? Now, something also that we heard this time from Brian Champa, who is a Minister of State, National Security, gives a much more elaborate, account of why they had gone there. Something we've heard already about some intelligence that they were acting on. that they had intelligence that there were guns, right, in a warehouse close to the candidate's house, the NDC candidate's house, and they were moving in there. He admits today that mission, that deployment, the mission that they were given to go and execute, they did not succeed. Listen to his explanation.
The intelligence they received suggests that some undesirable materials were being sent to a particular warehouse, and they had extensive details on that intelligence, and it included weapons, which they were concerned about.
And were they successful in retrieving these weapons?
It is a question that I have asked them almost 1,000 times in the last 1 week. If they had intelligence and they had surveillance in the last 24 hours before the 31st, and they had actually had a confirmation of that intelligence because they had gunshots coming from inside the house, then just by the mere numbers of the people that they claim were there shouldn't have stopped them from going further to enter the property to ensure that the reason why they had been surveilling for 24 hours was complete. Apparently, when they fired the warning shots and everybody was running away, the gate of this warehouse was locked. They only managed to arrest 9 people in front of the gate. So they didn't enter the property, which I think that it was faulty. They should have gone in and completed their mission. If they go in and they don't find weapons, at least I would have been satisfied that they actually went into the property, searched the property, and it was safe for me to sleep at night. They did not enter the property. When they fired the warning shots at the gate and arrested 9 people, they aborted the mission and sent the 9 to the police station. I think that they should have completed the mission. They did not. So I can conclude that they were not successful.
So in effect, Honorable, you will agree with me, won't you, if I suggest to you that the said operation was a failure?
I wouldn't say that because I wasn't on the ground. But they have to make a decision based on the ground situation. And as far as they report, they made the best decision to abort the mission. That is what they tell, based on what was happening on the ground. And I've seen the videos. If it was me, I would probably take a decision close to what they took, even though I would have wished that they should have gone in. So I wouldn't say it was a failure.
So that is Brian Champon there, who is the Minister of State. And that also raises additional questions, right? So the intelligence was, some people had guns in a warehouse. And so these marksmen were dispatched to go and, deal with the situation. They get there. The primary reason why they've been dispatched, remember from his own account, was that, there were guns in a place. They had gone there. They fired 6 warning shots, according to Kandapa, arrested 9 people. But the primary reason, they didn't follow through with that. They only arrested the 9 and left. That raises questions. If indeed there were guns there, it begs the question which was asked him, why didn't they follow through to the warehouse, break it down with the lawful authority, and locate these guns? But that also raises additional questions, does it not? Because we've heard that, as we've heard Kandapa explain tonight, that there were only 6 gunshots, and we've counted, just by listening to the sound of the audio that we have and the videos that we've watched, 49 gunshots. That leaves a difference of 43 if you take out the official account of 6 gunshots. So the 43 gunshots that we heard, where did they come from? If now we know that the marksmen didn't follow through to find guns, and there has no account since then that there's been a follow-up to locate the guns that they suspected were there. Okay, so we don't know if guns were there, but there are 43 additional gunshots that we can't count for. So where did these additional gunshots come from? Let's bring in security analyst Adams Bonner, who is also the CEO of the Security Warehouse Limited. A lot of questions begging for answers tonight. Adams Bonner, thank you for your time here on Top Story. You've heard the accounts today, and there are a lot of questions still being raised. What's your own reaction to what you've heard from both Kandapa and Brian Champon?
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners. Thank you for having me. Very revealing, but disappointing hearing those in charge of our the foremost intelligence setup in Ghana not coordinated publicly, giving disjointed accounts of what they know. I'm happy by the audio. You guys counted 4 to 6 or so.
In fact, we counted 49 shots.
49.
The official account is only 6 warning shots were fired. That leaves you 43 shots unaccounted for.
That can actually be processed. There's a way to process it, because if you are using, assault rifles that you can lock in and, continuously, sometimes you would not hear some of the sound of the bullets that is going out. And so for me, that is another question we need to know. Is the reason why I asked how many bullets were fired. How many bullets were fired? I believe Honorable Kandapa couldn't answer that. And a lot of contradictions amongst the two of them. You realize that whilst Honorable Kandapa said the Ministry of National Security was going to investigate the issue and present a report in 30 days, Brian Achampon did say the police is investigating. And so he's waiting for the police. Whilst Kandapa did say the police, DSP, mentioned his name, DSP Azugo or something, and Brian Achampon did say, for security reasons, I'm paraphrasing, he's not going to mention his name. And so, first of all, one of the core mandates, or one of the objectives of national security, is to coordinate. And so, if among themselves they are not coordinating, then I wonder how they are coordinating, and sharing intelligence with the agencies they work with. And so, for me, I believe that this Thursday, a lot of contradictions, and I'm happy the president set this up. I want to believe that, we are going to hear more of what happened. And we did also hear that from Kandapa, the bullets that were fired didn't hit any of the people who found themselves.
And that's one of those other stories that it raises questions. And so nobody, according to official account, nobody was shot, and therefore nobody suffered injuries. However, we have, in fact, the police statement I just pulled up said, and I'm quoting, that meanwhile, statements have been taken from 16 victims of the shooting incident. 16, that's a police official statement, and this was issued on the 5th of February. It says 16 victims of the I'm quoting, of the shooting incident. Yet, Kandapa says the people went there and briefed him and said they only fired 6 warning shots and nobody was shot. And so it begs the question, who fired those additional shots? But most importantly, and I haven't heard this today from any of them, telling us categorically whether the people they were suspecting, and they didn't really follow that through, maybe were the people who had done the firing. Because none of them had said that today. And so that also leaves room for a lot of questions.
Well, if the people they are suspecting, I can just analyze that in very simple terms and say, if the people they were suspecting did the firing, then the gunshot wounds would have been from the back. It wouldn't be from the front. If the people they were suspecting, because you did mention somebody took a bullet in the shoulder. Somebody took a bullet in its, I think I saw something like a bullet in someone's shin. And so, if indeed the firing came from behind, the bullet would, they would have taken the bullet from behind. And I think we need to also know, we need to be asking, what, caliber, the bullet, what caliber bullet, maybe 15, 15.5, 16, we have different types of bullets. And so, these are questions that I thought, the National Security Minister should have been briefed properly before probably meeting the commission, because then he's gone to meet the Presidential Commission and he makes a categorical statement, and probably that needs to be substantiated, Ivan. And you did hear, sorry for cutting you, Brian Achampon say he cannot tell if they were successful. I hardly would see.
No, in fact, he was categorical that based on the fact they didn't follow through with the primary intelligence that they had gone there to pursue, that they were not successful. But when he was put the direct question, it was a failure. He says, "Well, I would not say it was a failure."
Well, so it begs the question: tactical units of various, security agencies all over the world hardly would retreat. They would never retreat, even if it's going to take 3 months, and they have to lay siege and make sure that that situation is brought under control. They do that, but this was done in a rumble style. Quickly go in there and do what you have to do and exit the place. And so for me, it begs the question, what intelligence did they pick? We are here in the house, we are here in the warehouse. A house and a warehouse, unless, of course, the meaning of warehouse and a house are the same, or is just pure semantics, it begs the question, what type of intelligence did they pick? And the intelligence didn't point to it was a house or it was a warehouse. And
Alabama, just a final question. Do you believe that National Security Secretariat got intelligence that there was guns in a warehouse? That's a primary reason why they were deployed. They got there, only fired 6 shots, arrested 9 people and left without pursuing to find whether the guns were indeed in the warehouse?
I have to be very honest with you. From the way they are contradicting themselves, it's difficult for me to say I believe, and I cannot also say I don't believe them. For me, what they are saying, a lot of things don't add up. They might have picked intelligence. They might have not picked intelligence. If they picked intelligence, they should have they should have stayed there, even if it's for 4 months, to make sure they. So are we saying that the guns that were there have melted into society? Is that the question? Are we saying the guns that were there have melted into society? No. And so for me, first of all, national security don't have the mandate to even keep the phone they are keeping. And so I heard the IGP say all vigilante groups are banded. So they banned them. So I hope that national security would also disband, what do you call them, the team they are keeping, because in my book, that is another form of vigilantism. Because the law does not permit them.
Mr. Boda,
the force they are keeping.
Mr. Boda, I want you to stay with me because there's a lot to go through tonight, and we'll be joined by other voices as well. CDD will join us as well. We'll hear from the minority spokesperson, Defense and Interior as well. As we begin to dissect what has happened today, there's a lot that we need to get through for you tonight. You want to stay with us. Also, something that was said today. Remember the gentleman we again saw in the video assaulting the minister, the MP for Nego Pram Pram, Sam George. Well, Brian Champon told the commission today that individual has been asked to step aside.
Any act of violence or people being attacked is completely unacceptable. Whether it's from vigilantes or people coming to exercise their franchise and they or other people get involved in any fracas by a polling station, is completely unacceptable. And if we become aware of who these people are, we will definitely recommend them to the police, help arrest these people, and get the law to take its course. So we expect the police investigation to be thorough and deal with these subjects that are being mentioned in the Kodio report. Let me also put on record, madam, that I have instructed the Director of Operations to ensure that all the people, especially the one that was seen on video, to have reacted to the honorable member of Parliament, to be removed from operation until and made available to the police. And yesterday, I, in my office, made sure that the commander of the unit, the CIDPP, came and took his statement. And I believe that if they deem it necessary to act on anything in the statement, including arresting the person that reacted to the minister, I believe the police will do so when they conclude their investigation. But that officer is available at any time to the police for questioning.
Is this an administrative suspension or what kind of act is it?
I wouldn't term it an administrative suspension, but that officer has been set aside from duty, not to be involved in any operation, and such that when called upon by the police, we can make him available.
Everything is
That's Brian Champon speaking to us, speaking to the Commission of Inquiry today in this public sitting. You want to stay with us because there's so much more we're going to be hearing from Kandapa and Brad Champon. But also, importantly, we also hear from the Interior Minister, who also today appeared before the Commission of Inquiry and gave testimony about what he knew about the masked men. Fascinating revelations there as well. In fact, at one point, the lawyer who was questioning Brad Champon and others had to point out to Kandapa that even the IGP did not know the identities of these marksmen and had no idea that the marksmen had been deployed. Although Kandapa had suggested that that their command was separate. That is on a fascinating detail that also emerged today. We're going to go through all that for you and hear from CDD as well, because there's a report that Kandapa mentions today about CDD's work into vigilantism and government's intention to fund them to do more. And then we'll hear from the NDC minority spokesperson on defense and interior. San George, by the way, has indicated he's appearing before the commission next week. All details on Newsnight in the next 3 minutes.